I have a really special video for you guys today as I share my ultimate life-changing travel bucket list. Hey everyone, it's Vanessa and welcome back to my channel. And I'm so excited for this video because I'm stepping outside of the usual things and places I review to explore those locations and experiences all around the world that I think are a must-try. Now, with that being said, let me preface this video by saying that this is just my suggested bucket list based on my own opinions, tastes, and experiences, so please take that into account. And I also know that many of these picks are pretty pricey, but even if you do just one from the list at some point in your lifetime, I think you'll get a new outlook and even passion for travel, and of course, have a wonderful experience in the process. So please sound off in the comments and feel free to add your own dream destinations. I can't wait to hear them. And without further ado, let's get into it. Let's kick off the list with my first must-try travel location, which is Hawaii. Whether you prefer beautiful beaches, lush greenery, or plenty to do, Hawaii has so much to choose from that it can actually feel pretty overwhelming when planning a trip. I know I definitely felt overwhelmed myself, so I'm going to share some tips I learned through experience and why this is such a must-try destination. So first of all, whether you're planning a romantic vacation with your partner, a family vacation, or an adventurous trip with friends, the ideal travel time for a trip to Hawaii is about 10 days. So whether you're just visiting one of the islands or even island hopping, you'll get your money's worth because this tends to be a once and done location, if only because it's pretty pricey, so you want to see as much of it as you can. I recommend checking Maui out, the second largest of the islands. You'll definitely need a car here, but great island for exploring, and try to stay on the western side, either in Kapalua, the Ritz-Carlton is great there, or Wailea, where they have beautiful resorts and great golfing, and the weather is much warmer and drier on that side of the island. The main reason to rent a car is to experience the incredible road to Hana Drive, which can be a bit scary with over 600 hairpin turns, but extremely worthwhile natural beauty and scenery along the drive. You could do it without stopping in about 2 hours, but you'll definitely want to get out and explore along the way. Oahu is of course the most popular island in Hawaii, with the popular destinations of Honolulu and Waikiki. It's definitely the most convenient as far as getting there, and the dormant volcano Diamond Head is a must-try tourist attraction, just 15 minutes from Waikiki, as is the Pearl Harbor Memorial and USS Arizona, where you can pay your respects and entrance is free for both places. But the best place to visit, in my opinion, is Kauai, which is far more rugged and lush than the other islands, but absolutely breathtaking. Some of the most incredible scenery on Earth, and a helicopter tour here is an absolute must. Along the North Shore is the area of Princeville, and I highly recommend the Princeville Resort, which is a wonderful luxury escape after exploring all day. So like I said, so much to choose from, and yes, it's expensive, especially Kauai, but totally worth it, especially for that once-in-a-lifetime, incredibly unique experience. Now to a bucket list experience, and that's an African safari, where you will get to enjoy the most incredible connection to nature. Now, some tips right off the bat when planning your first safari. You want to pick a location that not only offers a nice variety of wildlife to see, which is everyone's priority, but also has a good infrastructure of lodges and reserves so that logistics are easier. And it's a well-known fact that South Africa and Kenya provide the best of both, and are even relatively easy to reach. Usually one short flight from Johannesburg can get you to many options, including the most well-known Kruger National Park. You also want to visit during the dry season, which in South Africa is usually July through October, and that makes animal sighting easier as they all tend to converge on the same watering holes, as water will be a bit scarcer during those months, so you're more likely to have more sightings that way. And you should also know that there are a wide range range of safari options from the traditional game drive to walking safaris, water-based safaris, aerial safaris and hot air balloons, and even night drives, which I haven't done but really want to because the animals behave entirely differently at night. Lions are more active, you'll see them hunting rather than just laying around during the day, just a totally different experience. My biggest tip is document everything. You'll want to take a camera, preferably as quiet a camera as possible, and get as much film and footage as you can. Some people suggest just living in the moment of this once-in-a-lifetime experience, but we tend to enjoy looking back on our pictures and video almost as much as when we were there, and it's definitely an experience you'll want to relive over and over again. Next up on my bucket list is beautiful Tuscany. And of course, when visiting the Tuscany region of Italy, you have to begin with the capital of this region, which is Florence, the art lover's dream and the birthplace of the Renaissance, with countless masterpieces from Botticelli and Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Caravaggio, on. And of course, the incredible Duomo, where you can climb the 463 steps to see some of the most incredible views of the surrounding area. But as incredible as Florence is, most people stop there, which is a real shame because there's so much more to see in Tuscany. The surrounding countryside offers beautiful rolling hillsides and wonderful vineyards, even free public hot springs, and many hotels and resorts that are repeatedly voted the best in the world. But if you don't want to splurge on one of them, because they're definitely not too budget friendly, the nice thing is Tuscany makes for the perfect day trip from Florence. Siena is within easy reach, and you don't even need to rent a car, as there are tons of day tours that leave from Florence, so you can still experience the incredible scenery in a really convenient and affordable way. And honestly, all of Italy is gorgeous and a wonderful experience, but if you have to pick one bucket list destination, I'd really recommend Florence and Tuscany, which make for one of the most rewarding travel experiences in the world. And as cliche and maybe even slightly overhyped as it is, I have to add Paris to the list, especially when traveling as a couple. Because even if you take away all of the incredible hotels, dining, shopping, and even art that the city offers, it's still the most romantic city in the world, where you can just wander together, exploring the most beautiful cobblestone streets and scenery. And rather than focus on the usual landmarks that everyone already knows, I'd like to share where you can find the true magic and romance of Paris, which is in those lesser-known gems and cozy cafes and the like. So the heart of Paris is truly in the 6th arrondissement, the home of Ernest Hemingway and Picasso, and of course the absolutely beautiful Luxembourg Gardens. Highly recommend visiting those. Also, if you're a fellow book lover, check out Bibliothèque Mazarine, which is the oldest public library in France and just amazing. Needless to say, you'll find some of the best dining in the world here, so many Michelin stars, incredible cafes. Café de Flore is a must-try. And something that often gets overlooked is the quality of nightlife in Paris, which is so diverse from many outdoor concerts to the chicest clubs anywhere. Plus, on a side note, you also get to see the best in current fashion from the locals, especially at night, which is an added bonus that I appreciate. So I know I've barely scratched the surface of all that this city offers, but bottom line, if you're looking for culture, sophistication, and romance, this is one of the best cities in the world and a definite must-do destination. Now let's leave Europe and head to Mexico, and more specifically Tulum, which I don't talk about too much on my channel, even though I'm constantly reviewing resorts in Mexico. And that's simply because Tulum offers the opposite of the rowdier, more crowded, all-inclusive scene, but it's that unique atmosphere, which is why it's such a must-try destination. So it's located in Riviera Maya, which I've talked about many times, and the ruins here are a definite must-see. Absolutely incredible and so well preserved, built toward the final days of the Mayan civilization, and I highly recommend visiting as early in the morning as possible. I know it's tough to get up early when on vacation, but you'll avoid the intensity of the sun since there isn't much shade, not to mention the crowds later in the day when the tourist buses arrive. The entire Tulum area is lined with some of the most beautiful beaches in Mexico, and I will say the hotels and resorts in the area are very different from what I normally review. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, and good variety as well, based on your budget from eco lodges to some pretty luxurious resorts. I suggest Be Tulum, which is a beachfront adults-only property and very chic with an incredible spa and overall wonderful location close to all of the best of Tulum. And that's the important part because I think far too many times we visit these tourist areas of Mexico and miss out on all the important cultural and historic experiences that are so important. And in Tulum, you get all of that wherever you go, plus a truly peaceful and relaxing getaway, all making it a must-visit destination. Back to the US and one of the most incredible natural wonders in the world, the Grand Canyon. I actually just saw it for the first time 2 years ago in 2020. Definitely worth a visit, just the most stunning views, and I learned some things that no one tells you before you go. We drove from Scottsdale, which was our base for the week, and drove the 2 hours to Williams, Arizona, where we took the Grand Canyon Railway train right up to the rim, and I really recommend going that way, especially when just visiting for the day. You can sit back and relax, and we splurged a bit on the observation dome, and the views were just incredible. During the week in Scottsdale, it was averaging between 103 and 109 degrees during the day. You don't know heat till you go to the desert. And when we got up there to walk around the canyon, it was about 57 degrees in the middle of the day. So we're talking like a 45-degree difference. My husband and I were both in shorts and were freezing because the wind is really bad up there, so it feels much colder than 57. We had windbreakers, so that helped a bit, but everyone was trying to get into the gift shops and restaurant to escape the cold, and that's a waste if you're not properly prepared, so plan accordingly. But like I said, incredibly beautiful, definitely worth a visit. But a place I recommend seeing even more, which might be a controversial statement, is Sedona, Arizona, which we visited last year in 2021, and everywhere you look, you have the most breathtaking vistas. Even in the Chipotle, which was funny, just stunning and even more of a must-visit in my opinion than the Grand Canyon. We did the famous Pink Jeep tour, which is far bumpier and rougher than expected. You do have to sign a waiver beforehand, but just know it's not the most pleasant experience and one I wouldn't repeat. But I definitely go back to Sedona, absolutely love it. And although next time I'd probably go later in the fall, even in September it's just way too hot and you can get dehydrated very easily. So that's my big tip for you guys. Our tour guide said October is the best month to visit. It's in the 70s, so much more pleasant than the 90s. And I recommend capping off your visit with a dinner at Mariposa, which is a very romantic spot with those red rock views. So that's a bit of our experience in Arizona. Highly recommend, obviously, as we went 2 years in a row. It's a definite must-visit destination. Next bucket list place has been talked about a ton in recent years, especially due to influencers always pushing it, but I still recommend it, and that's the Maldives. Now, right away, I want to correct a few misconceptions people have. First of all, much of the Maldives is not super expensive. Just because a lot of these social media influencers get free villas paid for by brands, even the $50,000 a night underwater Maraca suite, which I don't get, but that's a whole other topic. But that doesn't mean that there aren't affordable options, especially if you don't go with a villa. Although most of us may go once, twice if we're lucky, and that's why I think if it's your only opportunity, then do the unique and special thing if possible and book the villa. But there are definitely many affordable places. I really recommend Hurawali, which is a fantastic value, and Centaura Grand as my all-inclusive pick. What is expensive, however, is getting there, which gets ignored in Maldives reviews as a whole. I tried every which way for flights, but it's one of those few places that no matter where you live, for the most part, it's very expensive to get there. So a definite splurge, but you can't beat the most pristine beaches and clearest water in the world with amazing snorkeling and sea creatures, and minus the airfare, can be done affordably to have that dream once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now to a place that's unlike any other travel experience in the world, and that's the Galapagos Islands. I am a scientist, but even if you don't have an interest in Charles Darwin, every day here brings a new adventure, especially if you have a passion for nature and wildlife. The sheer number of unique animals you'll see is worth a visit alone. And something that most visitors don't realize is that it's one of the few places in the world where most of the animals are completely unafraid of humans, so you can get some incredible up-close footage of their interactions. And admittedly, it's not exactly roughing it as a scientific explorer, but I recommend a Disney cruise to visit the islands. Yes, Disney has a Galapagos itinerary, which is 9 days long and includes snorkeling, hiking, and excursions led by very knowledgeable naturalists, so quite a complete experience. And snorkeling is one of the best experiences here and a great way to see all the wildlife up close, from cormorants to marine iguanas, sharks, rays, sea turtles, and countless tropical fish. If you do it independently, this can be one of the most expensive bucket list places on my list, which is why I encourage you to go via a cruise. It doesn't have to be Disney, of course, but a cruise helps with the cost, and most of them leave from places that aren't expensive to get to, which really helps cut down on cost. But it really is one of the most unique and incredible places in the world that I really think everyone should visit at least once in their lifetime. Now to a place that's at the top of many travel bucket lists, and that's Machu Picchu. And just like the Galapagos, this is a very life-changing place to visit, giving you a whole new perspective on nature, culture, and history. The mystery surrounding this place, the breathtaking views, everything makes it worth a visit. But it's definitely a once and done for many people, mostly because it's surprisingly pricey in general with all that goes into getting here. Some important things to note. The altitude can cause some people to have physical side effects, especially if you're not used to it. I went up into the Andes Mountains quite a bit as a child in South America, but if you haven't been doing that regularly, you can get headaches, shortness of breath, and even extreme nausea. So the best thing to do is go slow and take plenty of breaks and drink a lot of water along the way. The locals chew coca leaf, which helps, but whatever method you choose, you want to make sure your body gets acclimated beforehand. One of the really cool things that most people don't discuss is that a lot of the lost city is still underground. Some archaeologists say as much as 60%, so sometimes you'll see anthropologists and archaeologists working near the entrance, which is pretty cool. But one of the most important things to note is that Machu Picchu is actually the mountain next to the famous ruins, which means you need separate tickets for each, both site pass and climbing tickets. And I'm not sure post-pandemic, but before there would be a line even before sunrise of visitors lining up to get in the second it opens. We're talking people lining up at 3:30 in the morning. Everyone wants their money's worth, especially since, like I said, people don't usually do this more than once. Plus, the sunrise shots and footage are the best. Last but not least, if you're not much of a hiker, I definitely am not, a train is the way to go. There are several options, but I say for this once-in-a-lifetime experience, go with the Belmond Hiram Bingham. Belmond is one of my top 3 favorite hotel and resort brands, and this train is no exception. Everything is incredibly luxurious and first class, and you get wonderful views of the journey, especially in the observation cars. So this is on everyone's bucket list for good reason, and one of the few places that everyone agrees is worth all the money and effort to have this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Back to Europe, and one of the most beloved places in the world. It's almost always number 1 for honeymooners year after year, and that's of course Santorini, the gorgeous Greek island that you see more pictures of than pretty much anywhere on Earth. And since we first started planning for our own honeymoon a while back, I've learned a lot I'd like to share with you guys, because people make many rookie and even not so rookie mistakes when visiting this island. So let's begin with your arrival. And because most flights tend to be longer for many people to get here, many visitors arrive after dark. And you definitely don't want to do that, and it's got nothing to do with vistas, but more so with finding your way to your hotel. Ideally, you would hire a driver, But if not, and you're driving yourself, the island doesn't have many street signs or street lamps. And at night, all those hotels look the same, so it can be very easy to get lost. Which brings me to my next point. If renting a car, do not skip insurance. It's a must on those winding roads filled with tour buses, tourists on foot, and even the occasional donkey, so you're gonna want to protect yourself. Also visit this place with the expectation of a quiet and low-key vibe, especially after sunset. This is a honeymoon destination, not a party one, so if that's your preference, Mykonos would be a much better fit. But one of the biggest misconceptions of all is regarding their pools, the ones that are all over Instagram. And almost all of the hotels in Santorini have at least one small plunge pool, many of them infinity edge that look like they drop straight down to the sea below. Beautiful, right? But if you look closer, you'll notice that in many of those pictures, the influencers are lounging around the pool and not in it. Well, that's because the pools are very cold almost year-round, and I hate cold pools, so they're really only pleasant on the absolute hottest days of the year. So if you're thinking this is the type of vacation you'll spend in the pool with cocktail in hand, you'll be disappointed. There are many other places that are great for that. I review them all the time. This is not one of them. What it is ideal for is exploring, which many visitors don't do. They just stick to their hotel, but the island is filled with charming shops, restaurants, and beautiful churches, and even lovely beaches. So don't limit yourself to your hotel, because you'll be missing out on the majority of what makes this such a bucket list destination. And my final tip is when leaving, do not arrive to Thira National Airport too early. Yes, too early. Gate seating is limited, so they only allow passengers to arrive for flights departing within the hour. If you arrive before that, you'll usually end up waiting on the curb or one of their coffee shops, and there are just better ways to spend your time on the island. So I hope these tips will help. I have many more, but these are some of my top ones, and it really is worth multiple visits, and in my opinion, is the ultimate romantic destination in the world. So there you have my 10 must-visit travel experiences and destinations. And I'd really like to know which of these you'd like to visit someday, and if you've already visited, which ones did you think were worth it? And of course, if there were some that I missed, which ones would you suggest visiting in addition to my list? I think our Passport Pages community would really value and benefit from your input. This is Vanessa for Passport Pages. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye, guys.